Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Coleman, Cutter, Danielson,
Excused.
Exum,
Excused.
Fields, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hanson, Henriksen, Hawkes Lewis, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundin, Marchman,
Excused.
Michelson Janae, Malika,
Excused.
Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Smallwood, Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter,
Excused.
Zenzinger. Mr. President,
Here. Good morning. Roll call is 30 present, 0 absent, 5 excused. We do have a quorum. Senator Van Winkle, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Thank you, Mr. President. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Gardner. Senator Gardner, would you please approve the journal for us? I know, I just chose on you. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of February 12th, 2024 be approved as corrected by our esteemed secretary for eternity.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. The ayes very clearly have it. That motion is adopted. Senate Services.
February 13, 2024, correctly printed Senate Bills 154, 155, and 156, correctly engrossed Senate Bill 63, 79, and 87, correctly re-engrossed Senate Bill 86, correctly revised House Bills 1179, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010, 1011, 1012, 1013, 1014, 1015, and 1016.
Committee reports.
February 12, 2024, Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed member of the Board of Trustees for Adams State University, effective January 1, 2024, for his term expiring December 31, 2027, and Trujillo of Denver, Colorado, appointed. February 12, 2024, Committee on Education, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following Senate Bill 99 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation. After consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 17 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the committee of the whole with favorable recommendation, and with recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 62 be postponed indefinitely. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 74 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the committee of the whole with favorable recommendation, and with the recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on
Third-
Transportation and Energy, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 105 be referred to the committee of the whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 65 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the committee on appropriations with favorable recommendation.
Third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the titles of all of the bills on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 63, Senators Rich and Coleman, Representative Taggart, concerning the confidentiality of discussions in a peer support setting. House Bill 1179, Representatives Degree, Kennedy, and Frizzell, Senators Hansen and Baisley, concerning the creation of an updated abstract for the 2023 property tax year.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the passage of all bills on third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes Senate Bill 63 and House Bill 1179.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of all of the bills in the third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, Senate Bill 63 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Jaquez Lewis, Roberts, Michelson Janae, Cutter, Priola, Zenzinger, Buckner, Gardner, Kirkmeyer, Liston, Janal, Will, members, it is inappropriate for sponsors to coerce members into co-sponsoring his bill. It's just a warning. With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, House Bill 1179 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, third reading of bills. Final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 79?
Senate Bill 79, Senators Hinrichsen and Smallwood, Representatives Mabry and Weinberg, concerning authorization for a two-wheeled motorcycle to overtake another motor vehicle in the same lane.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 79 on third reading, final passage, and ask for third reading amendment.
I'm sorry, Senator Smallwood, I didn't catch that.
Highly technical, Mr. President.
Could you repeat that? I just didn't get the request.
Yes, Mr. President. We ask for a permission for a highly technical third reading amendment.
So Senator Smallwood would like permission to run a third reading amendment, even though he's worked here for 7.5 years.
Mr. President, I mentioned highly technical.
What'd you say?
I mentioned it's highly technical.
Highly technical.
Is it a debatable motion for the permission? He's requested permission to offer a third reading amendment. My question is that debatable?
It does deserve some debate.
So you would study a higher
Is there any discussion on Senator Smallwood's request for special treatment? Senator Gonzalez.
Mr. President.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to better understand the rationale as to the nature of said amendment and how, in fact, said amendment would be determined to be highly technical versus substantive. Thank you to the good senator from Parker.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank
Your
you.
colleague needs some support.
Thank you, Mr. President. So when we first amended the bill, the amendment we added put a 3-year repeal on the policy and required CDOT to report data back to the legislature on accidents involved while the policy was being performed in a legal manner, which at the time was 20 miles per hour or less. But then we put an amendment on that reduced that speed from 20 miles per hour to 15 without amending the prior amendment that required CDOT to collect data at 20. It is bad form when I show up here with a mismatched tie. It's poorer form if we pass a bill where the study element is mismatched to the policy. So now we're making the Second Amendment reflect the First Amendment.
Senator Henriksen, that was way too literal. I don't think any of us actually care what the amendment permission requires. Senator Gonzalez.
It sounds rather technical to me.
Maybe we should debate the amendment itself.
Yeah.
The question before the body is Senator Smallwood's request for permission to offer a third reading amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? Unfortunately, the ayes have it and permission is granted. Will the clerk please read amendment?
It's here. L006,
L006.
amended gross
Senator
bill page
Henriksen.
5.
So, thank you, Mr. President. Once again, we are making the study data reflect the reduced speed in a subsequent amendment on the bill at 15 miles per hour. And I move L006.
Senator Smallwood. The motion before the body is the adoption of L006. Is there any discussion? Lots of discussion on this one. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, this highly technical amendment, if you look at the engrossed bill, page 5, line 22, what it does is says motorcycles sideswipe collisions while overtaking or passing at a rate of less than 20 miles per hour and before and after the effective date of this subsection 3. Then you have to go back and it's talking about data collection. Why not just collect data at any rate of speed so that we know what this is? I mean, 15, 20, this is sideswipe collisions after all. This is about public safety. Why not all the way down to 0? But I'm kind of agnostic, if you will, about this amendment because I think the problem is those who believe that they can ride their motorcycle from Colorado Springs to Denver in 20 minutes and post that on social media. That might be the problem.
Senator Fields.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. I want to speak on this amendment L006. And what this amendment does, it allows for a motorcycle to enter into the same lane. Instead of it being 20 miles, they want to reduce it down to 15. And I just need to understand the logic behind the initial bill of 20 to 15. Why not make it 10? Why not make it 5? Because when you think about how slow that is, and I don't drive a motorcycle, but if we're going to reduce it to 15 miles, that appears to be really, really slow. I don't know. And so, depending on the size of your motorcycle or your height and your weight, what are the safety considerations when you're driving in the middle lane with a motorcycle at your height and your weight at being just 15 miles versus 20? Can I get a response to that question, please?
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we've already reduced the speed from 20 to 15 after multiple stakeholder conversations. This amendment deals with making the data collection match that. I can and will be happy to speak at length to why for the policy change. Mr. President, I would like to do that on discussion of the bill. So I again ask for an aye vote on this amendment. I'm happy to speak to the broader policy thereafter.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of L006. Are there any no votes? Senators Gardner, Fields. This is to the amendment. The highly technical amendment. With a vote of 28 ayes, 2 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, L006 is adopted. To the bill. Look what you've started, Senator Smallwood. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. So to the policy questions that were brought up, this is a practice that is done in the majority of the world. Every EU member nation has this form of policy. Australia, New Zealand do, and now we're starting to see a growing number of states that do as well. The studies on safety that have been conducted around the world and in the U.S. have broadly supported this policy as a safer method for motorcycle riders. Those studies have most often been conducted in European and Australian states where 30 kilometers per hour is the standard practice. 30 kilometers per hour translates to 18.6 miles per hour. In the states that have adopted this policy, 20 miles per hour or 15 miles per hour has been what the policy has been set at. So that is why 20 miles per hour was introduced in the bill. After further discussions and negotiations with stakeholders, it was reduced to 15. That keeps us in line with the norms and practices around the world and in other states.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, just want to reemphasize what the good senator from Public County just mentioned, is that with the amendment, so for those who maybe weren't tracking the bill down its entire path, the amendment was significant. We'll be, I believe, the only state, if not the only state within the only country in the world that requires traffic to actually be stopped 0 miles per hour before this lane filtering is permitted. So the traffic needs to be stopped. Motorcycles can then split lanes, filter through lanes at a maximum speed of 15 miles per hour. So for me, this is an extremely conservative approach. The senator and I talked about it in that it still, I think, effectively accomplishes my concern, which is when traffic is stopped and you are on a motorcycle and you have vehicles bearing down behind you, to allow yourself as a motorcyclist, just like every bicyclist has done for decades or centuries, a bicyclist is not going to sit behind stopped traffic, waiting for moving traffic behind them to be approaching at Lord knows what speed. This, again, would allow a motorcycle, just like bicycles have done, to be able to slip in between vehicles, go 1 car ahead, 2 cars ahead, 3 cars ahead. If we're dealing with a traffic light, potentially go all the way ahead. And to folks that have concern about safety for motorcyclists, remember, there's nothing mandatory about this. If you ride and you don't want to shelter your motorcycle between other vehicles when traffic is stopped, and you would like to stay out there in harm's way, feel free. It's no requirement that says you have to do any of this. But for those motorcyclists, like so many that we've talked to, that so many that testified, would like the protection of other vehicles, particularly when traffic is stopped. For the safety of those folks, we would ask and encourage your aye vote. Thank you.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I have a lot of respect for my motorcycle community, but I am going to be a no on this bill. As a motorcyclist, I cannot understand the comparison that was just given of a motorcyclist versus a bicyclist. Big difference between motorcycles and bicycles. And I think it's a step in the wrong direction to do this. This legislation is going to enable reckless riders and encourage them to engage in more reckless and irresponsible and dangerous behavior. It creates an opportunity for an increase in road rage incidents, and it's going to frustrate drivers, and they may react aggressively to these motorcyclists maneuvering through traffic. I believe the good senator from Colorado Springs talked about the motorcyclist that went from Colorado Springs to Denver in 20 minutes, and that was weaving in and out of traffic. This would also create bad habits for young new riders, potentially compromising their safety and that of others on the road. Not just of hitting the motorcyclist or the motorcyclist hitting the car, but cars rear-ending other cars, for example. It's difficult to enforce, and it really creates a poor public perception of safe riding practices. And in my eyes, there's no such thing as a lane wide enough to allow for safe lane splitting, because it doesn't exist. And this practice inherently possesses risks to everyone on the road, motorcyclists as well as drivers. So I am a no, respectful no on Senate Bill 79.
The motion is the passage of Senate Bill 79. Are there any no votes? Senators Roberts, Pelton B., Van Winkle, Gardner, Liston, Kolker, Janal, Fields, With a vote of 22 ayes, 8 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, Senate Bill 79 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Lundin, Gonzalez, Priola, Mr. Majority Leader.
You have to call out the bill first? Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 87 to be brought up on February 15th, to lay over until February 15th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 87, the lotion bill, until February 15th. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the lotion bill will lay over until the 15th. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that general order second reading of bills lay over until February 14th.
The motion is to lay over the general order second reading of bills until February 14th. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and those bills will lay over. Consideration of governor's appointments, consent calendar. Will the clerk please read all of the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Chief Medical Officer for a term expiring at the pleasure of the Governor, Bruce Ned Kalanj, MD, MPH of Greenwood Village, Colorado, appointed member of the Medical Services Board effective July 2, 2023 for term expiring July 1, 2027. James McLaughlin of Colorado Springs, Colorado to serve as a resident of the 5th Congressional District and a Republican with knowledge of medical assistance programs appointed.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the confirmation of all the appointment listed on the consent calendar, which includes Chief Medical Officer Bruce Ned Cologne from Greenwood Village, and member of the Medical Services Board, James McLaughlin of Colorado Springs.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of all of the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused, the appointments are confirmed. Announcements. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have an announcement for those of you. You have this lovely document that was on your desk. It's called the Joint Budget Committee Supplemental Package. Just want to announce that the Republican caucus will be meeting immediately after we recess to room 352. See you all there for that lively discussion. Looking forward to it.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. And the Democratic caucus will meet in the old Supreme Court chambers. Also, please plan to bring your purple supplemental package bill. This is different than the bill that we brought to you at the SMART Act hearings. This is the supplemental package, but it also contains a purple stripe. So we will see you there immediately after we adjourn.
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I ask for a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Colleagues, today is Elbert County's 150th anniversary of being a county. And I have a tribute here I'd like to read. State of Colorado, the Senate and House of Representatives convened in the first regular session of the 74th General Assembly hereby recognize and honor Elbert County. The Colorado General Assembly is proud to recognize the 150th anniversary of Elbert County's founding as an official subsection within the then territory of Colorado. Predating our statehood, Elbert County has a rich agricultural heritage that thrives to this day. lumber from its pine forests, grain from its farms, and cattle from its ranches brought prosperity to those that settled there. Generations have passed on their traditions and Western spirit to the more than 28,000 citizens that reside there today. The Colorado State Senate, with the officials, with the Colorado State House of Representatives concurring therein, would like to congratulate and celebrate with Elbert County this, their, I can't hardly say that, sesquicentennial on request of Senator Rod Pelton and Representative Rod Balkenfeld, given the 13th day of February 2024, State Capitol, Denver, Colorado, signed by President Steve Fenberg and Speaker Julie McCluskey. And I'd also like to introduce the 3 county commissioners from Elbert County, Chris Richardson, Grant Thayer, and Dallas Schroeder. So, thank you.
Senator Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Elbert County is home to the J-Bar Double C Ranch Camp, which my children attended. And so I just want to thank Elbert for the warm hospitality to the Jewish community for hosting our ranch camp.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'm excited to let you all know that today is DMV Day at the Capitol. Get excited, right? There's a table on the first floor, and this is the cool part. The DMV mobile unit is parked in Lincoln Park. The DMV 2 Go is an exciting new program that helps Coloradans who do not have an easy access to office driver license services by bringing the DMV to them. So there's a flyer on your desks with more information. Please take time to stop by and see that mobile unit if you can. It's pretty cool.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have checked with the minority leader and the esteemed majority leader and asked to be excused this Friday, February the 16th.
Senator Liston will be excused this Friday. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, at 2 o'clock this afternoon, Senate Business, Labor, and Technology Committee will be meeting in the Old Supreme Court. Our action items are confirmation of members of the Underground Damage Prevention Safety Commission and Senate Bills 103 and 104.
Further announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate recess until 12 p.m. today. Colleagues, you do not need to return. It's mostly to read some bills across the desk, but feel free to come back if you'd like to see the presentation. Otherwise, we'll see you at the caucus and in committees this afternoon. See you tomorrow.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will recess until 12 noon today.